a traditional market psychology would suggest that when after passing through a time period of extreme fear, that all markets are cyclical and that people's perspectives will start to shift. And I think there's a little bit of that going on at play here. It's also important to point out that while yes, Bitcoin has gone down over the course of the past year and even the past 2 years, I'd argue, despite that, where it found support and where it found stability even in a bear market continues to be impressive. If I had gotten back into if I had gone into Bitcoin in 2015, I would be over the moon at where the Bitcoin price was even in this bearish market, right? So when you look at that, it's easy to understand why people are beginning to be bullish again. In addition to that, historically, Bitcoin has worked in 3-4 year market cycles. And we're kind of butting up against that timeline again here. So I think people are looking at previous indicators of how Bitcoin has behaved and looking at that as a model to suggest that we may be entering back into a bullish market for Bitcoin. As for the price speculation, I mean, I tend to refrain from that. People's have given off wild speculations into the several hundreds of thousands, $1 million of speculations. I think it's really going to depend how this year plays out with regulation and with the big players in the space, like the Coinbases and the Binances of the world. I definitely think there are more skeletons in the closet to come. I think there's been a lot of speculation over USDT, which always seems to resurface every couple of years. Lots of shakiness regarding Binance. A lot of these centralized players and a lot of these centralized finance operations, I think, have a lot of proverbial skeletons in their closet. And I ultimately view this as a good thing, even if in the short term it suppresses the overall valuation of the market. I think in the long term, this pushes us closer and closer to the true spirit of what blockchain technology was supposed to provide, which is removal of intermediaries and replacing them with automated protocols. So I think this is going to be very beneficial for the entire decentralized finance space. I think for most people, Bitcoin is either considered a store of value or a speculative asset at this point, not as a true functional currency, although it can be used that way. But certainly here in North America and the European region, we don't use it in that capacity by and large. So yeah, people are going to care about price and people are going to care about the returns that they can see on their investments, and I think that's just reality, and Bitcoin maxis need to get grips with it. We continue to develop new language around what specific asset we're playing with within the realm of blockchain technology. Crypto used to be canonically used as a catch-all, and when you look at the media, it's always being used in a negative connotation unless we're in a bullish market, right? And I think it was the World Economic Forum that put out that sentiment there. Institutions like the World Economic Forum have a vested interest in maintaining the status quo and painting an illustration that these alternative systems that exist are bad and they're not good inherently. So I think there has definitely been a concerted effort on the part of media and on the part of institutions to create that stigma, and the industry is adapting to it accordingly to help build a space of trust, but also better understanding of what the different products and services within blockchain technology are. Hopefully that makes sense. I think it would be severely debilitating to a lot of operations that leverage Binance's exchanges on an API level, on a partnership level. Much like FTX, there are several different institutions that are tied in. And right from the get-go, Binance made it clear that it was going to play the game differently than traditional operations play. And I think we're seeing more of that right here, right now. Again, even when the FTX situation was first coming to light, there was talks of Binance, coming in to sort of swoop in and support FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried, and that ultimately fell through. But I see much of a similar type arrangement taking place here. They're all in connection with each other, and they're all in communication with each other and servicing each other. And, I can't honestly say in good faith that I trust these institutions as far as I can throw them. This is why decentralized finance is so important. Take the centralized operation out of the picture as much as possible. Take the human element out of the picture as much as possible, and get back to what blockchain and crypto is supposed to be about, which is using decentralized protocols, not human beings as trusted third parties. Yeah, I mean, obviously the price action is super important for when you have a tokenized real world asset like AGX and AUX coins like Loads produce. It's very indicative of the situation that we're in right now. You know, the financial markets overall, both traditional and crypto, have been down, and in times of financial crisis, people tend to flock towards precious metals. In addition to that, we're also seeing tons of sort of geopolitical things play out, like the evolution of the BRICS system, lots of signals from sovereign nations indicating that they want to move to gold-backed currencies or precious metals-backed currencies. And all of these things really bode well for us, because we have been spending the past half decade and beyond building the technical infrastructure to make this easy for these institutions. So we look at the space that we're in right now as a real opportunity to accomplish on that core mandate that you just mentioned of restoring silver and gold to the monetary system. And I don't want to jump the gun here and I won't mention any names, but LODE has just received a no action letter from a very well-respected regulator inside of the Middle East. So, you know, we're seeing lots of activity in that region and in the African continent and beyond about bringing digital silver and gold to the masses. LODE has a considerable vested interest in you know, being accessible to everyone worldwide, and we reached out to this regulator because LODE has always mandated that we want to be compliant as much as possible. And we spoke with this regulator in depth about the services that LODE has to provide and its offering and its core mandate. And we were very pleased to hear that we were going to receive a no action letter, which we have just recently received. I'm going to withhold the name just for now, save that for a big PR announcement later. I think we're at the beginning of the end, so to speak, when it comes to a huge geopolitical shift in power structures taking place. And I think that there's this prevailing air of anxiety because nobody knows 100% which way it's going to land. And so what the finance minister is mentioning there, you know, is a very wise act of self-preservation, right? They want to make sure that they're not putting their eggs in one basket or tying themselves to a partner that, you know, wouldn't serve them necessarily in the long run if ties were to deteriorate or circumstances were to change. So I think it's a very pragmatic approach that they're taking here. I also, again, think it heralds that people are looking for something different all over the world. People are signaling that, you know, the system that we have with the US dollar may not be fated for longevity, and that something else needs to sort of take its place. And again, I don't think there's any clear winner at this point in the game, but I think that precious metals inherently are going to play an important role in that. I think across the board, people have been extremely receptive to the idea of it. I mean, you know, that I live in Western Canada here, and the amount of value that I've lost with the Canadian dollar this year alone has been pretty tremendous. And comparatively, as we mentioned before about being in another run with gold right now. So when you approach people and you sort of put two and two together, right now people are extremely responsive